oh no, please get somebody else to do it. And hi guys, it's Shalonda, and welcome back to the channel if you're returning, and welcome if you are new here. Today's video, as I sat with the Lord, he said to me, it will all come together. And as I'm sitting in his presence, kind of just really meditating on that, and then he says to me, everything that you're going through is necessary. I'm working all things together for your good. And so I start to hear Fantasia's live session of the song. And in the song, she's talking about how God worked all things together for her good. And everything that she went through, she now sees that it was truly necessary. And so God takes me through my last season. And my last season was a rough season. It was a tough season. It was a season that I did not think I would make it through. This was the season where I am deciding to follow Jesus. I am deciding to be called out of the job that he gave me, but he called me out of it. And as I'm leaving that place, I'm having to redefine what it means to be who I am in God. Then he takes me to this season. And this season, there is a lot of refinement. There's pruning still happening in this season. In this season, there's a removing and a replacement. He has removed me from my old job. He has removed me from where I used to live and replaced me into a new city. And so as I am sitting with him with all of these things, I'm starting to feel like, Lord, this feels like I'm being set back. And he says to me, this is not a setback. Your current season, your current situation, despite the circumstances and everything that you seems not to be working well or going as you plan, this is not a setback, but indeed this is a set up to catapult you into the next season. And so I'm sitting with him with this, because as I'm listening to him speak, I'm still looking at my situation as it relates to finances, as it relates to where I am in this season or this journey with him right now. I asked him, Lord, so why this place? Why here? Why now? And why me? And he says to me, he starts talking to me about placement. And when he's talking about placement, this is a strategic placement. This is providence. This is provision. This is him showing that I am the I am in your life. And he says, why me? Because you were willing, you were obedient, you decided to follow me. Why me? Because you were available. You were seeking ye first the kingdom so that all the other things could be added unto you. Why now? Simply because it is my timing. It is your time to do what it is that I have called you to do. And the why this place, he didn't necessarily answer that. So I'm going to take it as that's God's business. And if he decides to let me know about it, then hey, and if he doesn't, then I'm fine with that too, as long as I'm in his will. And he gives me a vision of a slingshot. And this is not the normal size slingshot. This is a rather large slingshot, almost the size of a person's body. And he says to me, the only place for you inside of this slingshot is to go forward. So he's showing me in a vision that this placement in this season, in this time, this set up, not set back, is meant to spring me forward. Although the enemy has tried to make it look like for many of us that, man, this situation I'm in, it just feels like I took one step forward to take 10 steps back. But that's what the enemy wants us to see. But this is actually a set up, not a setback. This is going to catapult us into the next season, because God has to make sure that because what he has is so great for us, that we're going to be able to handle the assignment. And so that leads me to Exodus chapter 1 through 4. So he leads me to the story of Moses. And I'm going to link the study tool that I read because it was so detailed. It showed the lineage, the story behind before Moses was born, because that's how I like to study the Bible. I like to know the details, the why, the when, the how, the who are they related to, so that I can get a fuller understanding and a better understanding so that I'm able to apply it to my life. And he leads me to this study tool that is titled The Pharaoh's Palace to the Burning Bush. And this journey that Moses takes from the time he's born, flowing down the river unto Pharaoh's daughter, who then his sister Miriam calls for the mother to nurse him so he knows who he is before he even enters the palace. He knows that he is a Hebrew. He is of the Israelites. And so God allows him to be strategically placed in the palace because of the assignment that leads him to fleeing the palace because he kills an Egyptian. And then he ends up in this city or town or whatever, Meridian, and he's isolated. He's alone. And there he meets his wife, and he works for the wife's father, and he becomes a shepherd, and he then meets God at this burning bush. He hears the voice of God at this burning bush, and then God gives him his assignment, telling him to go back to Egypt. And he's thinking like, go back? Oh no, please get somebody else to do it. And scripture says he's saying, please send someone else, because he's looking at it through the lens of his inadequacies. He's saying he doesn't speak well, making up all these excuses, and then God shows him, I am the I am, by turning the rod into a snake and then back again. And then Moses is still saying, get somebody else to do it. But the truth of the matter is, God was revealing to me, and for many of us, that the assignment that is placed on our lives, that is specifically for us to carry out, he's not going to get somebody else to do it because it is your assignment and your assignment alone. Now he will, like he did with Moses, give him a helper. And in Moses' case, it was his brother Aaron who spoke for him. He is strategically placing us to get us in line with the assignment that he has called us to in this hour, in this time. And just as Moses complained and made up all of these excuses, I find it true for myself as well. And many of us can probably also relate that when God is calling us back to a place, or calling us out of the familiar, or calling us to a new place, so we won't have to feel that uncomfortableness. We won't have to deal with the thing that God is trying to pull us away from. But indeed, in order to get to, we're going to have to go through some things. And so with Moses, he is giving God all these excuses, but then he ends up going back to Egypt because he was the one who God had already chosen to lead his people out from Egypt. So everything that went into him being placed in the palace, him being isolated, him being in a new place, leading up to the burning bush, getting the instructions to lead the people, this was all strategically done by the Lord. The Lord places us in specific areas with specific people because there is a specific assignment. So don't grow weary in well-doing in this time, and make sure that you constantly seek the Lord for discernment, because we never want to do the right thing at the wrong time. No matter how difficult it has gotten for you, no matter how difficult it may feel or uncomfortable you may feel in this season, know that it will all come together. Know that everything that you're going through, it is working for your good. God is not a God of waste. Everything we encounter, everything that we do in this life, it is allowed by God. It goes through God first. Anything, everything, all things, because the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. He knows our ending and our beginning. So there's nothing that God doesn't know. There's nothing that he doesn't know that we will face. And in this season, we want to be purposeful. We want to be intentional, just as the Lord is when he places us in our new place, in our new land, in our new territory. So take some time and go read Exodus 1-4, because there is much revelation there. There is much God has to say about your season now in regards to placement, in regards to the people, in regards to moving, shifting, sifting, pruning, plucking, refinement. Go to God and see what he has to say about your current situation. Don't believe the lies of the enemy.